your stock. It's Monday. It is the 14th of August, 2023, and it's a damp, dreary day outside. The markets are the same. John, is it me or is it just a boring day with lack of news?
It's boring. It's a boring day, although at least the weather is nice here. That's the best I can say about it today. Yeah.
Honestly, it's absolutely been hammering down here for
sunny Suffolk.
Yeah, maybe we should all move there. And because it's, and in fact, just looking at the markets here, right? Look at that. Not really moving anywhere. FTSE down 0.2%. AIM all-share down 0.25%. It's like, you know what? It's typical. It's literally, they're not even a big fall today. It's just down a little bit. Everything's just, bland. So listen, if you've got anything you want to chat about, first of all, hit that subscribe button because the figures are growing nicely. And this is a sort of a warm-up for when the investing season starts. Because, with the old saying, well, go away in May, come back St. Ledger Day. So it is quiet for the markets anyway, seasonality-wise. And so, hit subscribe. And we really start gearing up come September. But covering the markets, stuff like that. In fact, let's go to comments here because there's a nice couple of comments from last week, John. I think it's worth covering, and we'll go to all the. But first of all, David said, "I remember John from the IC pods. Oh, those were the days, John.
A long time ago, yeah.
I used to listen to you on the Investors Chronicle pods. I used to cycle into. I used to work at a radio station then in Southampton. I used to cycle in, listen to you on the podcast there. But David said the clash in philosophy between him and Justin makes it so watchable. I'm glad you say that. Yeah. But so I think thing is at the end of the day, people want to make money, don't they? And it's like I almost liken it to an international football team. You've got 11 players on the pitch. They're all sort of internationally good, pretty much. But they've all got different styles. I'm not saying we are international good at investing. Yeah, me and you, we are world class. I'm not saying that, but it's always a learning curve. That's why I love investing so much. You're always learning. You invest in a company that goes completely wrong. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
I see that part of it.
I also think. I mean, it's good to have people with different opinions about it. I mean, that's what makes the market, after all. People. Yeah. Some people are bulls, some people are bears, and actually, you thrash it out between you, and you hopefully get to something that is the right answer.
Yeah.
Being totally bullish, totally bearish, people just, it's never going to get you very far because it doesn't always work like that. And, people have different views on companies. So, how you get to a truth is by debating.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question, again, Don. At the moment, if you could put your bull bear in percentage terms of where you are at the moment, what percentage are you bearish and bullish? And is the bear in you, I think the bear in you is a bigger percentage, is it? Than
probably 60-40 bear still. I'm sort of, I would say fairly neutral. I think we're just in for a period of sort of bumping along the bottom. We have seen some nice rallies in individual shares, but I do genuinely think that there's a lot of companies there that are sort of stuck in a bit of a rut, share price wise, and that will remain the case for some time. Until we see some real catalysts. And I think the inflation figures are going to be one of those catalysts. And I think what we'll find is that there is a bit of volatility in inflation, which sort of will rattle investors from time to time in the months ahead.
Yeah. So we got CPI data this week, haven't we? I think it's a Wednesday, coming out. So I'll be interested to see, because of course that termings also, gives the Bank of England a steer as to what they'll be doing next. But if you've never commented before on this, please do so now, because there's not much company news. We're going to cover some company news, but nice to have some comments. So what I want to know is, do you measure your portfolio performance over time? Do you do it by a quarter or not? Old dog last week said he just wings it pretty much all the time. That's fine. You can't get bogged down in analyzing, but there's often the saying is, if you don't measure it, you can't. No, what is it? If you don't measure it,
you can't improve it. You can't improve it.
Well, exactly, that's it. Yeah. If I don't even know the saying, it doesn't bode well. But I do sort of measure my performance, and I have done for a long time. On a spreadsheet. I did get really anal about it, trying to do it once a month. I see investors on Twitter on a daily basis looking at their performance. That's no point doing that on a daily basis. You've got to extend the time from a bit quarters to years, I think.
I think we're seeing a bit less of that now. And there was all the rage when the markets were doing a bit better. People would be reporting their daily gains or weekly gains.
Yeah.
And you don't see anywhere near as much of that at the moment for the obvious reason.
I was doing that. I used to do a video on my quarterly updates, and then it was doing so well. I thought, let's boast a bit. I haven't done it for a while, but I've still done very well going back. I got figures going back to 2009, and I've done really well since then. Even in the last year, I've halved my value portfolio. I look at it, I'm still up 2,400% 2009, and I did a compound annual growth 28%. Compound annual growth. So I've done very, very well. And you look back at that and it helps sometimes because you realize I've done really well. But the last year or 2 years has been really painful. And it's taken away half my gains or close to half my gains.
But you've still got gains. So, that is the nature of markets, ups and downs, rough and smooth. It's but actually I think on the importance of measuring, I do think it's important. I think, quarterly's reasonable, but monthly is not, that's not onerous, and it's quite realistic. You'll be getting a feel for performance. Things will have changed over the course of a month potentially. So monthly, checking your portfolio and measuring it monthly is not a bad thing. The other question is benchmarks. What are you measuring it against? Is it just absolute numbers? Or is it benchmarks against, say, an index or inflation or whatever it might be? What are you trying to beat? Because if you don't know what you're trying to beat, then what's the point? If you're not beating the market, then why are you investing individually?
Oh, I've smashed the market. I've smashed the market completely. Exactly. The market's rubbish. But no, saying that, the market's really smashed me over the last 2 years, so it's fine. But yeah, no, on a quarterly basis, quite good, I think. But sometimes it gets depressing. In fact, the last quarter, I think, last 2 quarters, for the last 2 quarters, I've made money out of the last 6, 7, 8 quarters. So whatever 2 years has been. Matthew said, can you look at Renold? Matthew's into Renold, RNO. We did look at it. Love Thoughts, seems cheap. Did we cover that last week? And also he says measurements. I have a live spreadsheet via Google. I do that as well. Measure week v week. I don't do week versus S&P, NASDAQ, all world. I also do year to date and annual. My portfolio is at 18% year to date this year, matched the S&P. Well, that is excellent year to date. I think up 18%. Very good indeed. But Renold. So we have a look at the chart. Do you know much about Renold, John?
Well, I know it makes chains, but that's kind of about the end of it. Yeah, sexy. So it's just it's a British, nice.
Well, it could be in some people's
a niche engineer. Been around a long time. Not always been the greatest performer, but something's happened here. This company's. Yeah.
What's the last?
Company's looking pretty good. Had results beginning of mid-July, 12th of July. We've seen some really nice growth there. 27% on the top line. PBT up 40%. Really doing nicely. I mean, if it's still the same sort of company that I remember it being, if this is chains, then it's kind of one of those companies that will be in demand. Its products will be in demand even as we go through the energy transition. Yeah.
No, I like that. You see, obviously in the chart there, it's come down from high up here, but it's back in 2015. But I mean, it's 84 pence, and it's sort of grinded lower. But you can almost see, the golden cross happening here, on this November 20th. And since then, since the Dash for Cash crash, which was April, of course, when everything sold off because the governments are shutting down the economies of the world, it's rallied nicely. In fact, I think a lot of companies, if you've taken a position on those days, remember the big sell-off when everyone was scared, tin hats on, I think it was one of the biggest, fastest sell-offs ever in the market, then you've done well. But since then, look, from 4 pence, it's now at 30 pence. So unbelievable. That's a multi bagging. You wouldn't have thought a company like this would do that. But
industrials were massively out of favour. They were massively out of favour. So you would have seen a lot of these type of niche engineers, in the doldrums, and say, they're good businesses, and you get the right management in there that can pull the right levers, set it on the cost base, and get the right agreements in place. The right bolt-on acquisitions, which they seem to be doing, and you're away. It's good. It's a good hunting ground. I don't think it's AIM. I think it's main market as well, if I'm right in thinking.
Okay.
And it's why when we think small companies, we often think of AIM, and what we're not thinking about is actually you've got the FTSE small cap and fledgling, when there's a lot of interesting companies there.
Yeah. So for now, I mean, it is building. So again, we've had another golden cross here, building nicely. You want to get above these previous highs, maybe 31, 32, and it's into a new trend there. But maybe a bit of profit taking in the first, it shot up there between August 21. Obviously, some good numbers coming out, and November 21. Someone's taking a bit of profit here, or some downgrades, or whatever. It's gapped up, but it's in that range. So now, if it gets above like that 33, 34 level, you can see another nice uptrend there. But that's it's looking good. Yeah,
I'm just looking back. It was 2016. This company was in a bit of a pickle. Lots of profit warnings and that sort of stuff. So. Big turnaround story there.
Yeah, I do like the phrase "in a bit of a pickle."
It's
and
a technical term. I wonder if
they said that on the financial and the investor meeting on the calls. Yeah, we're in a bit of a pickle at the moment. But let's go to the front page. In fact, let's cover off a couple of comments from last week. On investment trusts, this is David said. Is there any of you guys can think of that do well that have warrants attached? I don't think investment trusts have warrants attached, do they?
Well, I think anything can have a warrant attached. It's sort of cut. The cover warrants. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen them for a while. Something I need to go away and look at. They were very popular at one point.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen them for quite some time.
Okay. So he hasn't seen one. In fact, Sandy says that he hasn't seen one for a while. A long time ago, I bought British biotech warrants at 45 pence and sold at 10 quid.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get into that as well.
If we are talking about the same type of warrants, it was SG, if I remember, that had a big warrant division.
Okay.
But I have a feeling they closed it, but I could be wrong. I'll have an investigate.
Yeah. But half again at 15 and the rest at 20. If Destiny Pharma, sorry, you can mention that. He said if Destiny had warrants attached, I would be in there like a shot. And he carries on. Thanks for the tip. I don't do tips. I just put information out there. I say I'm involved. Do your own research. So, but I started buying at 30, added more at 40 and 45. Like the bill of moment. Do you know? I have a second favorite. Pharma biotech share. Has John got a favorite small cap? I do hold a couple of sort of biotech in that area. In two, I haven't actually talked about. I did say to Paul. Paul asked me about them on the last video we did, Hot Stocks, and I said I would mention them this week because I was trying to get a position, and they were quite illiquid. And I thought if I mention them, I definitely won't be able to get a position because I need to get a position of at least sort of 3% of my total portfolio value. Otherwise, it can't move the needle at all. So, but I will mention they're very liquid though. I won't go much above that and they start to gain because I can't get out because it goes wrong. But I will mention them soon.
My favorite, just on the question, have I got a favorite small cap? And despite appearances to the contrary, I do have a fair smattering of small caps in my portfolio, which I've mentioned before. And, where do they range? They range from sort of 40 million, which is Facilities by ADF. I like that business. We talked about them before, going through a bit of a tough time because of the old Hollywood strikes. 10 Lifestyle, really like that business. Have you ever looked at them?
What were they called, sorry?
10 Lifestyle.
10, no. You mentioned them before, I think. Yeah. What's the ticker there? 10, is it?
TENG, sorry. 10 Lifestyle, basically, it's a kind of concierge service. So they work with banks, wealth managers, that kind of thing. And, where they have sort of ultra high net worth clients, and those clients, they want access to things like, film tickets, Taylor Swift concert tickets, whatever, the Open, Wimbledon, whatever it might be. And basically what 10 Lifestyle does is it procures them for them, or it procures them for these customers on behalf of the banks that they bank with. So it's essentially a sort of loyalty tool for banks, and 10 Lifestyle does the back end.
I'm surprised you didn't that, John, providing for the elite people with money. It's one rule for them, isn't it? You see all those people having to queue in Wimbledon for 3 days.
That's right.
And yet
that's right.
We often wonder that. How is it? Actually, you never see the celebs or anyone in those queues at Wimbledon. You realise they don't need a queue. Money buys you everything, doesn't it? It's like.
The funny thing is, So I spoke to the chief exec. There's an interview on the site actually. It's definitely worth a watch. Chief exec Alex Cheetle, who also founded the business, very very entrepreneurial. Yeah. And it's taken that business a long time to get all the contacts, the networks in place to be able to procure this stuff that these rich, high net worth clients want. And that gives it like a real moat. It's very, very hard to replicate. But as I say, it's taken a while. But now they've got this, I think, people will start waking up to the defensive position that this company offers. It's a nice business, makes money, it's always like to see. Just a bit off the radar.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, in fact, you're right, Matthew. Matthew said, boring and not sexy are the best winners. They are not in beauty competitions, though.
Yeah, I mean, 10 Lifestyle, these are companies, the small caps I like, they are not sexy businesses, film trucks for, Hollywood actors or, procuring Wimbledon tickets. This is not a sexy business. This isn't high growth. I say it is high growth stuff, but it's not, binary biotech type stuff. I like Hvivo in that space because it isn't dependent upon binary outcomes. I like H&T. It's a pawnbroker, and there's a reason I like that, and that's because I think that the rich poor divide is growing in this country.
Sorry to say, it's got a couple of trading days for Hell. There's Hellenic Dynamics, of course. They are a cultivated supplier of finished pharmaceutical standards using cannabis. There's a lot of companies in this space, actually. The more I discover, there's quite a few in this space. I've never really got into the space. I don't really know how competitive it is, the regulation involved. It seems very complex. I know in America or Canada, when the listed companies there went through a boom period, and then all of a sudden the market was flooded with competitors, and peers. So it didn't do well. So I never really know that. But the chart there is, it hasn't. Well, look at that. The first day of dealings was in December. It's still below that. If you look at that, but seems to have a nice breakout today. You get that. It's almost seller exhaustion, and a couple of buyers comes in. And in fact, what's the volume there? What 57? Oh, I was going to say 57 million, but the share price is 0.022, so it's not as much in thing.
I think the medicinal cannabinoids market is it's definitely one that is set to grow.
Did MGX have something like today?
MGC Pharma, they did. They're obviously doing similar things. They're also starting to work with psilocybin, which we've discussed before, more commonly known as magic mushrooms.
No, I've read a lot about that, and it's very interesting. A lot of investment going into it, and it does seem to be helping. There's a lot of trials going on about it combating depression, especially post-traumatic stress. The people have army, but this is so they've done a successful completion of preclinical chronic toxicology evaluation at Symmetra delivers positive results supporting previous preclinical data. So let's take their chart has been a nightmare there. They've gone down and down and down. MCX or MXC.
I think they need a bit of money. I think funding is the problem.
That. Literally, that's the hype there. 9 pence and now down to 0.14. And so did they not raise money recently?
They did. I don't think they raised a lot though. No. So which is indicative of the difficult market conditions we have. Yeah. And you can only think that they're gonna need more. They have got some really nice products in development. Yeah. And I do like this sort of plant-based medicine space. There's another one we looked at recently, Oxford Cannabinoids, which is again obviously cannabinoids, but they are in phase 1 trials for one of their compounds, which is essentially pain management. Okay. This stuff works. The problem, the difference is you could pop up to the corner and buy yourself a bag of weed, which is what a lot of people have to do if they want to use this stuff to relieve pain at the moment. This all has to go through proper clinical trials, so that they have the same issues as any other drug developer. Yeah.
One final comment. Clarendon, any good entry point for NTQ? Company looks good. You mentioned this last week, John. What are they doing? I've forgotten what it is. Is it like a new kind of fracking technology?
It's fracking technology, yeah. It's directional drilling.
And even though it didn't say that in there, it's so funny. It didn't say that in the thing. It's fracking tech. But literally the share price is diving a little bit. What's happening there? It's not looking promising. But I would want to see. Like I said, what I look for sometimes is a break that 50, and then trading above previous highs. So I mean, it's got to get above 9.5 really to start seeing the end of that downtrend. It did do it there on that trading update, obviously. I think that we had all that news, and then it's come back down. So sellers come in somewhere and dumped it. And that's when it starts to rise and sustainably rise. You can see then that there's net demand for shares, and the sellers have dried up a bit. So, but you often get that people, stale bulls getting out on news. It's a liquidity event that allows them to get out. And so you've got to be careful that doesn't happen. Otherwise, just go back down essentially.
I mean, what I was saying about this company, what I like is whilst it has it's sort of developing sort of cutting edge tech, it is still making money. It's making $4.9 million at the half year, 6 months ended 30th September. Losses are relatively small for a developer of cutting edge technology. It sort of seems to be balancing, selling existing products and developing exciting new ones. This latest development, this Sabre product that's developing is basically what I said last week. But I should elaborate. It allows drilling at very, very high temperatures. So what that means is that it can be used for methane drilling.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, as a potential to disrupt rotary steerable systems.
Yeah.
A market greater than $2 billion per annum. So there's a nice bit of market there. Let's go to the front page here quickly. So at the top there, we've got Victor. Tekcapital's innovative eyewear unveils version 2 of his ChatGPT app for smart eyewear.
Yes.
Even though I quite like that idea, how much technology do you need in a pair of glasses? Does it need ChatGPT in them? I don't know. For me, glasses, you just be wearing glasses so I can see telly. I wear glasses these days, right? Because I've looked at computers so long in my life. If anything comes up on TV with some text in, I can't read it. So I check glasses on. What do I need smart eyewear for? That's, is there a huge need for that? I mean, Google Glass tried it and they didn't pull it off. So
Google Glass was a hideous product. I mean, it looked absolutely horrendous. I think Apple's launched something recently. Obviously you've got the VR stuff, but that's slightly different. There's like augmented reality. So, you see, but you've also got information being presented to you at the same time, which sounds great. I only ever use my glasses for driving. I'm not pretty sure what the rules would be, having all sorts of information popping up in front of your eyes while you're trying to watch the road.
Yeah, that's it. It's distracting. Listen, I lose my memory going from the bathroom to the kitchen sometimes. So I got these things in my eyes, all this information coming up. I want to know where I'm going. It's like bumping into the walls. But there we are. But it is interesting tech, and we talked about Roquefort last week as well. They got a bit of news out today.
Yeah, more patents.
Okay, yeah, and they're in obviously cancer as well. And the expansion of portfolio there in the cancer. So novel anti-cancer RNA. Listen, it loses me, but
mRNA.
mRNA. They've done trials in vitro, which is in the test tube basically, and in vivo, which is in animals, little living creatures. So that's going on. They said the studies demonstrated efficacy with the company's MDK RNA. I can't even say that. Oligonucleotides.
Never try and pronounce anything pharmaceutical.
No.
Live on air. Never try.
All
do.
All I want to know is it working? I suppose they got to show off with the big names now again, but yeah. But is it? What is this? 10 million market cap now? I think it is. Yeah, 10.65.
It's not big, no. mRNA is an interesting technology. It's obviously the mRNA was the technology behind a lot of the vaccines that were released, the COVID vaccines that saved the world. That allowed us to reopen again with only massive damage rather than catastrophic damage to the global economy. And one of the things that was always said about mRNA was that it could potentially be then applied. This was the live test, and now, it will be applied to other disease areas, and so this is good to see. This is good to see. Big market.
Yeah, a typical example here. So, a couple of times this has broken up the 50-day moving average and then gone back down. And so what you need to see, like I said, is a break above the 50-day and previous highs. So this is previous highs here, and it's gone above that. So that's nice now. So hopefully the downtrend in this has stopped. Maybe you'll see us, may have to go sideways for a while, because that's quite an aggressive re-rate there over the last trade. It may have to go sideways, but it probably has seen the lows are behind it, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean,
depending on how much cash they've got, of course, you need it. They always need cash.
Willie should have a look at that. But no, this is it's potentially fantastic technology. It's a really important treatment area. They're targeting breast cancer, particularly something called midkine, which is basically behind metastasis, which is the big killer when it comes to breast cancer.
Yeah. Okay. Most followed companies there with AFC's up top there. Of course, we've covered that quite a few times. Hydrogen as well. In fact, two hydrogens there up top. Enteq. In fact, we didn't look at NTQ because just the chart on that. See, we did look at the chart. And see, don't make me having smart glasses. I can't even remember what we did last 5 minutes.
I'll tell you why all the hydrogen companies are at the top, because we put out a nice report on them at the end of last week. On green companies in the business of producing green hydrogen in particular. So in fact, all of those companies are the companies in the report, which Lauren wrote. It's great, really good report, really good look at some of the technologies going on there, and some interesting looking companies. As I said, I think hydrogen will have an important role to play, and we're past the sort of the hype cycle. We're in the sort of trough of disillusionment, and I think we start to get back up towards sort of a real pragmatic assessment of hydrogen and what it's going to do in the transition.
Yeah, be careful you don't buy at the top of the hype cycle, because you can do it for a long, painful time. Just on one of those news out today from one of those on that list is ITM. It's basically they've agreed to sell Motive Fuels Limited. This is when ITM, previous management, went in all different directions. And you could, when the money's coming into the market like that and everyone's chucking money at you, you can try and do everything. But all of a sudden, once the market turns, you have to focus and conserve cash. And so they've signed a non-binding heads of terms agreement for the sale of that part of the company. It'll save them about 30 million, they reckon, or something like that, or 28 million. Yeah. So that they're more focused on that. But
they still have an awful lot of cash. But focus is good. I mean, it's something that, I read something. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Terry Smith of Fundsmith, but he was suggesting that, because when we're in a cheap, zero interest rate environment, there were just walls of money to chuck at things, and so capital gets misallocated quite often.
Yes,
and that can happen within a portfolio or within a business itself. So as you say, sometimes tough times prompt they demand a refocus, a focus, and then you start to see businesses come into their own. Focus is massively important.
ITM, of course, the most shorted company in the UK. That's apart from the hype, is why I hold a little bit of stock, and not a lot, but I just want to see what happens if they start moving up. The shorts close. You normally could get quite an aggressive re-rate if the shorts have to buy their stock back up, but we'll see, because I said, how long will the cash last? Well, they got a lot of cash, I suppose, but about 2 years of cash, I think, at current cash burn. What is it? Helium One Global. They're saying now basically it's an operation update on the phase 2 drilling program there. It's in Tanzania, and Laura Blasey said Helium One is now another step closer to commencing our drilling program at Tai C. There we are. And
important stuff, Helium. Important stuff. It's not just balloons that we need this for.
Yeah, no, they came on the podcast when they first, I think, IPO'd, I think it was. And the guy the new CEO came on the podcast and was saying about the deficit, the problem with the lack of, helium supplies on the world. And I was surprised when I didn't realize that the market was so tight there. In
it's really tight. Really tight.
We're wasting it on kids' balloons.
We are.
Do that, for heaven's sake. I know. More important things in life. So
what's more important than a balloon?
Yeah, exactly. That's nice. It's broken up there, but previous hours, and almost like in this trading range here now. So maybe it's a breakout above that. So cool. What else is on there? Anything else? Have you seen anything on here, John? You looked at any news?
I mean, the one that jumped out at me, mainly because it's the biggest fall of the day, Harvest Minerals. I mean, it's a shocking statement. In fact, they're down 29%. I did see this, and they say further to the Q2 sales update announced on the 30th of June, when the company noted a drop in fertilizer sales and prices. Harvest regrettably, you don't want that. You never want to say the word regrettably in an RNS.
Reports if sales for July remain below revised internal expectations, and then it recorded 3K. So they did say here, this is the sentence I looked at, market observers are widely predicting that fertilizer demand is expected to improve throughout the remainder of the year. However, given the volatile market conditions experienced to date, there have been only 4.5 months left at the end of the year. The company has revised again its 2023 invoice sales target to 70,000 tons from 120,000. So almost halving their estimates there. So
it's big downgrade. It's hard to understand what's going on in this market. I mean, during the supply chain crisis and obviously the start of Ukraine war, there were big fears that we didn't have enough fertilizer.
Well, let's chart there. I mean, that's the start of that. Everyone's getting into fertilizer. I remember
get into fertilizer. Get out of fertilizer. It's like a scene from Trading Places.
So but again, I mean, if you don't sit on the sidelines there, again, it'll be once we start getting back into GDP growing around the world, and the recession fears easing. This is a very good leverage play, fertilizer plays, because you need more of that, of course, going forward. So if you're in, it's not a good thing, but if you're on the sidelines and look at the market, maybe it'll do well.
Yeah, once I have a look at it, it's, because I mean, fertilizer is important, obviously. So once I probably have a look at, given that price is so depressed. But today's statement, I mean, you're catching a falling knife there at the moment. It's that's horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of these are pretty much riding on no news apart from Global Petroleum. They're a tiddler, a nano cap, but they've got the Namibia license update here for the drilling, the approval to enter the phase license of PEL Namibia. I don't know how big that is, whatever it is, but Peter Hill's very pleased with that. He says their CEO. What else was there? It was one of the videos. Oh yeah, on the market, on the beach. I mean, obviously it's taken I did have these. I thought we were going to do well after COVID, and they raised money at the right time. Like I said, they had loads of cash, and they did the next update. They'd spent a lot of money on marketing. So you probably heard their adverts or saw them on TV. And like I said, you need to spend a lot of money to get your head above the parapet, to get in people's head spaces when they're booking holidays. And so, on those results, they just came all the way down, and they're now down at what? Look at that. They're all-time lows, I think. They need a change of management here, but it's the founder, as I think the founder here, Simon Cooper, who was the founder, director, NED on the beach, has notified the company that he purchased 2.8 million shares of the company at 88 pence. So that's 2.4 million quid's worth. Following that purchase, they have an interest of 7.5%. So you can see why it's risen a bit. Well, in fact, let's put volume on here. In fact, look at that. When did he buy those? Was it August the 8th? Did it say there? Didn't say, is it? Oh, yeah. Should say a date, shouldn't it? But 11th of August, it's by. But yeah, you can see that that's why it's risen. But I don't know if it needs to get above it. In fact, you see that line I put in here, you can see that's almost the breakdown. There's a support there. It's broken down through that. And now, due to these purchases, back above that. So maybe it'll go sideways, go up there. But I wasn't impressed by their update.
It's. I mean, it's hard to see why it's doing so badly. I mean, the shares are very cheap. As I said, there's other companies in the sector that are really benefiting from recovery, not least Jet2. So I don't really understand why the shares have sold off quite so much. It's a strange. I'm just looking at the broker consensus. You've got 5 buys, 5 holds, and a sell. I'll tell you what, it's very rare to see a sell on the stock from the analysts. Very rare.
Yeah. Someone's been annoyed by them or something. Okay, so that though is almost a breakdown there, very sell-off. It's coming back into range now, so it's above the 15 moving average. I'd say once again above this 105 level maybe, and then maybe it's off to the races. Off on holidays. Who knows? That's it, really. Just one thing. There was very little news around, even macro news today. It's almost like the entire world, or business journalists had a big weekend and they couldn't be bothered to write anything on Monday morning. But there's one thing I did see. I don't know if you saw that, but wages are basically about 40% of employers have made counter offers to keep hold of staff tempted by higher wages from rivals in the past. They surveyed 2,000 employees, but it did say, 38% made a deal that matched the salary promised by the new firm. However, 40% were offered even higher wages. Meanwhile, companies expect to raise pay by 5% over the next 12 months.
There you go. So there is another sort of upward inflationary pressure. Yeah. Greedy employees.
Yeah, exactly. Take Andrew Bailey's advice, everyone.
Yeah,
Do not take a pay rise.
Stop asking for pay rises.
Yeah, yes, I'm on £800,000 a year. Yes, but you don't take a pay rise, mind.
No. It is. We've talked about this before, but again, it's sort of there is a swing in power from capital to labour. So that is inflationary. That will be inflationary. So that's why I go back to what I said at the beginning, which is why I think the inflationary pressures in the system have not entirely gone away, and wages is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I think what it does.
I wonder though. When we talk about our inflation, right? If you look at something like Turkey, that's 50% inflation or something ridiculous. They were at 80%. How do they still function then? I don't understand how people. We talk about pasta's gone up by 40% this year, or 10% now, or in fact, what is it? Food inflation is about 20%. They're at and that's food inflation. Their inflation levels are way above 50%. How do they even function? How do you go to the shops and buy something if they've got 50% every year? For the last 5 years,
you're going to take your £1 million note, million lira note. So it's it is tricky. And as I say, I think think of the impact of increased wages on companies' bottom lines as well. That eats into profit.
Research says we did have a look at the ATN last week at Tyrian, and we did say it's a good deal. The Rio Tinto signed up with them for to look at their lithium things, because that's almost, when you get massive companies like that signing up with small companies, there must be some sort of interest there, beyond, because you see many companies on AIM pumping out their assets, and we got lithium. But when you really get a major coming in looking at your asset, that's sort of good news, because they do a lot of due diligence. GMR, any comments on directed dealings and size of buys? What's GMR? Any idea?
No.
Okay, we may have to look at those tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Gaming Realms.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at that tomorrow.
Do us a favor, if you hit that subscribe button, we will definitely look at it tomorrow, okay? Renju and Reese, hit the subscribe button, all of you. If you have, and check now who hasn't hit the subscribe button, and I'll personally get back to you. But that's it for Taking Stock. Speak tomorrow. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.